Hey guys, welcome to She Knows Arsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jessino. On today's stream, I obviously thought we would be talking about, just the Fulham game and just doing a general, live Q&A, but obviously the news of the European Super League is pretty much the biggest news, this morning. So I wanted to obviously talk about it, give you guys an opportunity to let me know what you guys think about it. I'm sure that most people will say that they're not in favor of it. And, yesterday I had kind of tweeted about how I wanted to kind of see how things worked once the dust settled, and then kind of give my opinion on it. And I think it was taken out of context. I don't want anybody to think that I like the European Super League or I think it's a good idea. I don't. I don't like it. The first time that I heard about it, I had my own meltdown about it. This was before it even became really came to fruition, or even before it was talked about yesterday. So the thought that there's going to be an Americanized version of something that I really care about and I love is very disheartening for me, because as somebody that has chosen a sport in a league that's nothing like an American league at all, and to see it be changed into that is not comforting to me at all. So I think it's important for me to make sure that before we even really start, that I say that, and I'm clear about where I stand with the European Super League. And I think we're in a place of complete and utter siege mentality. It's us versus them, and you're either with us or you're not. And I am with you guys 110%. What I really do believe is that, this is the end of how we think about football, as we know it. It will never be the same. It will change, and it'll be completely different from what we've always known, which is sad. I find it very, very sad. And so before we even start, before we talk about just kind of what it is and things like that, I just have to be really, really clear that I am not in favor of this European Super League. And it really makes me uncomfortable feeling like, it makes me feel uncomfortable being American and seeing that, essentially our American owners are trying to Americanize something that we love. So I am with you 110%. I don't like the league, and I just wanted a little bit more information because there was a lot of misinformation going out there yesterday and just a lot of outrage. I wanted to see what was actually happening before I kind of had a meltdown, because I've already had a meltdown about this, the first time that I heard about it, because I was like, wow, found something that I love. And now it's going to be just like they're going to NFL the shit out of it. And it sucks, So let me see what some of you guys are saying right now. Yo-Yo says fans are understandably anxious. Yeah, that's true. Flossenex says it's one big mess. Amar Deep says, I feel bad for the teams like United and Arsenal because your club owners will keep the 3.2 billion stimulus package to themselves. I don't expect you lot to see a single cent going to those clubs. King State says, he did warn us, but he also brought us Kroenke and supported and defended Kroenke when the fans wanted him out. Dennis says, just a battle between different capital interests, the scumbags at UEFA and the rich elite at the clubs. The fans haven't mattered since the 90s. And those are really good points. And, when I say, Arsene warned us, what I'm saying is he didn't warn us against something that he didn't want to happen. He just warned us that it was going to happen. It was going to come to fruition at some point, and we're at the door. We're at the entry of it right now. It hasn't even, I don't think that, so essentially what I saw yesterday was just a high stakes, jostling match between two huge entities that are trying to basically jockey for their own positions in a big negotiation, namely like UEFA versus these European teams, right? Or these elite owners. And they both want they both want the same thing. They both want money. UEFA has been pocketing the majority of the Champions League money and the European competition money. And the clubs they want a bigger stake in it. They feel like, they deserve it, you know? So this is all about really about money. And UEFA, I guess, didn't come with the right amount of money that these clubs felt like they were owed. So now they're taking matters into their own hands to get something closer to what they envision to be the most beneficial European competition that they can think of, which is a closed competition between European teams where they can't be relegated, you know, or anything like that, so that they can keep circumventing that money. And, you know, they want to stay in their respective leagues, but that's problematic in itself as well, because even though, you know, from an Arsenal perspective, I'm thinking like, well, if we stay in the Premier League, that's a good thing, you know, but it's not for the other teams, because we will be basically we would look just like Manchester City, you know, how Manchester City has pretty much dominated for the last, you know, 6, 7 years or whatever. It will be basically the same thing where we have an embarrassing level of kind of like domination or, you know, superiority over the teams below us, that it's almost laughable. So essentially we'll be only competing with the other 5 teams that are a part of this super league, and everybody else will just, the trickle down effect will be so massive. You know, I think the trickle down effect will be bad whether we're in the Premier League or not, but it will be greater if these teams are not a part of the Premier League. So it's terrible for grassroots football. It just takes away from everything that makes English football what it is and why we love it. You know, we think about just yesterday we were, you know, pretty not really celebrating because we're not Norwich fans, but seeing the Norwich fans and teams celebrate being promoted, you know, to the Premier League after just being a year out of it, which I think is a part of the fantasy or the joy and the magic of English football, is that, you know, you can be relegated then promoted the very next season into, you know, the biggest league in the world. You know, you have teams like Sheffield who just got, you know, formally relegated a day ago, you know, so it's just a part of the storyline, and it takes away from the magic when there is no jeopardy. And that's what they're pretty much wanting to shift away from, because jeopardy leads to teams like Arsenal, who have been ran poorly, not to be able to capitalize on being a big team. And they don't want that anymore. They want, regardless of results, for them to be able to basically print money. And it's just really, really disheartening, you know, knowing that, you know, the Leeds story won't ever happen again. There'll never be a chance where, you know, a team like Leeds, a big team, will be relegated because they were managed poorly and then take years to get back up and almost be like this Cinderella story coming back up to the Premier League and doing well, being able to be, you know, solidly in mid-table after being gone for so long. Those stories will no longer exist. And that's pretty much what makes this league special. This is what makes this, you know, this pyramid special. And they're going to take that, they're trying to take that away. And it's just, I hate it, you know. I really, really do, you know, so that's basically, you know, how I feel about it. I definitely don't like it at all. I never liked the idea of it, but it's coming, you know, and you know, I think this is far from over. This is definitely going to be a long, it's a legal battle. They'll be jockeying basically for position, and essentially UEFA's over here and these elite clubs are over here, and at some point they will meet somewhere over here with a version of a European competition that I believe will be a closed competition, where these elite clubs will be able to have this weekly tournament per se, where nobody can really infiltrate it and take over the money aspect of it. Whether or not we'll be in the Premier League, I think it's going to be the biggest development in all of this. And that's really where I'm interested, because if we're not in the Premier League, that will really affect my support for the club, to be honest. If we're not in the Premier League, even if we are, it's going to be disgusting, because we'll have such a big, you know, we'll be so superior to the other teams based on the amount of money that we have, that we still will only be competing with the teams that are in this European Super League, but not being in it at all and only being in this closed competition will pretty much solidify the fact that I'll probably not be supporting the club the way that I do now in terms of watching the games, because what's the point of watching it if you just know we're going to play Real Madrid and Barcelona and these teams every single week? It's not going to be special, and we're just going to get killed anyway, because the Kroenkes are essentially trying to get into a position where they don't have to invest any of their own money into the club. And if you look at the way that their American teams are doing, you would see that they're perfectly okay with not winning anything, So there's that. Let's see. Carl says, ourselves, Spurs, Dortmund, et cetera, would become the Burnley, Sheffield, and West Broms of Europe. Yeah, for sure. We're not going to be competitive in this league. It's not about being competitive. It's about entertainment, getting as many sponsorships and TV deals. They saw earlier that they're trying to get deals with Amazon and big companies like that so that they can just basically distribute the hell out of this and make it into a glorified NFL. I mean, it's going to be the NFL essentially. Amar Deep says, I feel bad for teams like United. Okay, because you said that. Sorry. C. Finnan says, if it's true that these top 6 teams will get kicked out of the Premier League, I can't see the Premier League even continuing. That's a whole that's why I think at a certain point they will come to some sort of, it won't be, I won't call it a compromise. It's just going to be where they come to the common ground of what this is going to look like. And I don't see these leagues. I think they're using it as a threat right now, that the players are not going to be able to play for their national teams in the Europe or in the Euros and the World Cup. And that these teams can never come back to these respective leagues. I think that this is all just jockeying because they are so far apart in what they want to accomplish that they're just throwing shots back and forth. But none of this is really sustainable. It's not real to me, because it's like, how do you even have a World Cup without Messi and Ronaldo and these big players? That's the only reason why people outside of, the regular football fans even tune in to those big competitions, is because they're going to see the world superstars play. So I don't see these things really coming to fruition that okay, well, we'll never be in the Premier League. I would bet that we're going to be in the Premier League. It's just a matter of how much money is UEFA going to get for this European competition, and how much is the Premier or these clubs going to get. This is all about money. It'll come down to a dollar amount. UEFA wants a certain amount, these clubs want a certain amount, and when they come to a happy medium, then, we'll see what it is at the end of the day. Yo-Yo says, what can stop KSC from moving the club as he did the Rams? So if you mean moving it from St. Louis to LA, nothing really. I mean, if he wants to move the club to Dubai, he'll move the club to Dubai. At this point, because he has controlling interest in this club, he can pretty much do whatever he wants. And that's essentially what he was looking for, to be able to do the things that he wants to do with the club, to have controlling interest before he does anything with it, and yeah, so I mean, if he wants to move the club, he probably could. I mean, I don't think he will, but if he wanted to, he probably could. I have seen the statement from the Arsenal website. What I didn't like about it is the timing in which it came out. It was late at night, UK time, when it came out. And I just thought to myself, I was just like, this is just seems so sneaky and so wrong, just putting this out here late at night, and just, here you go. We're a part of this 12, club, founding members group of this European Super League. And we believe that this is the way forward and all this kind of stuff. It reeked of 55 redundancies, all that kind of stuff, just the club moving in a completely different direction than what we know it to be. It's Arsenal has always been the classy team, and over the last couple of years, it just hasn't been that way, Yeah, Sincere says 23-year commitment. That was, revealed today that we're in it for a 23-year commitment, which is it's a big commitment. And there's also quotes coming out, I don't know from who, but essentially, Perez and the guys that are involved in this whole thing, the European Super League scheme, are trying to make it very, very obvious that they want to go through with this regardless. So saying that they're going to create their own World Cup, saying that we're going to be committed to it for 23 years, saying it's not civil war, it's nuclear war. These are all just jockeying. They're just all just trying to show like, well, this is where I stand. Eventually they will come to some sort of agreement. And again, I do believe that we will be in the Premier League and there will be this European Super League. It's just a matter of how much money UEFA is going to get for it. Because here's the thing, is that this European Super League cannot exist without somebody, some sort of governing body, running it. So they want UEFA to run it. So this is literally these elite clubs versus UEFA trying to figure out how much money UEFA is going to get for this and how much money the clubs are going to get for this. And the clubs want more, but they also know they're in a good position to get a modified Champions League that doesn't involve qualification, which is exactly what they want to save themselves so that they don't ever have to worry about not getting that Champions League money. Because for Americans, the American owners, once you get into Champions League, the Manchester United fans always complain about this, is that whenever they get into Champions League, they stop spending money because they know that there's a certain amount coming in. And the only reason why they want to be in Champions League is not to win it or not to win the Premier League or anything like that, is to get a certain amount of money guaranteed every single year. Once they get out, they spend enough money to get into Champions League and then stop as soon as they get in. The whole point of this is so that these American owners can stop having to invest, or if they have invested at all, some of their own money. They want it to be self-sustaining so that it's just basically printing money. So this is for them, they see this as a good opportunity to leverage their power over UEFA, and basically say, well, we'll leave this whole thing behind if you guys don't give us what we want, which is a certain amount of money for this European competition in a closed league, so we don't get relegated or have to actually qualify for it. Let's see. S says PSG haven't agreed to be a part of the Super League because they are owned by Qatar, the country that bought a World Cup from FIFA. So obviously they're not going to burn their bridges with FIFA anyway. But yeah, that's really the only reason why PSG is not involved in this, is because it's all about, who they're in bed with, essentially, so they're in a position where they really can't get involved, so they're kind of an outlier, in this situation. Dara says the American owners have ruined the game. They don't have any concept of promotion and relegation, and they're so used to the American style of competition. Yeah, that's very true. And it keeps them, it basically turns it from sport to entertainment. Basically they prefer entertainment over sport. Sport is about winners and losers. That's really what it's about. Winners and losers, and the losers in English football lose greatly, and the winners win greatly. It's promotion and relegation is what makes English football special, but it's also the aspect of Americans don't like that because it takes away from their ability to solidify certain amounts of money. So I get why they don't like it, because it's all about them. It's about the rich staying rich and getting richer, so they would never really want relegation. I'm sure when they bought into, Arsenal and Manchester United and so forth, that the first thing that they thought is that the moment that we can get rid of this relegation stuff and this promotion stuff, we'll do it, because we don't like it, because it adds that level of jeopardy. So essentially what this league will be is just a glossy, entertainment scheme that looks like sport to the naked eye, but deep down, we know it's nothing. It's entertainment, and that's all it really is. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, tried something different. I mean, I would wish I was talking about something else. I think it's so crazy that I was dreading kind of having to dredge up this post-match stuff about a really just blah performance against Fulham. But I would love to talk about that now, because this whole European Super League thing, I woke up and I was drained from it. And I didn't even really talk about it yesterday because it was just running through my mind, like, what does this mean for football as we know it is not going to be what we love about the game. And if it's anything like the NFL, I can completely see myself checking out from it, and I love Arsenal. I'll always support Arsenal. And it's just, I don't want to like ditch the team or anything like that, but this is not it. This is not what we signed up for. Like, this is not it, so I'm just I'm devastated. I'm really, really devastated. Like, that's really how I feel. And like, I just wanted more time to work through how I felt about it and make sure that I'm gentle, because I know there are fans that are probably watching this stream and that will watch it after, that will look at me and say, well, you're American, so you probably don't really give a shit. That couldn't be any further from the truth, but I understand that American, plus English football equals bad, so it's just really disheartening, and it makes me like ashamed. Like, I feel ashamed, like, because I love this sport and they're literally just killing it. They're killing it. They're killing it off, but when you have foreign owners involved in your sport, you have to look and see how they operate. At a certain point, they will try to impose what they want to do on your sport. That's just how it is. And as soon as the Cronkies got controlling interest in this club, their whole goal was to get to this point. They're so silent. They don't talk to us. They don't say anything, but I'm sure they're really mouthy behind the scenes, talking about, getting this over the line, because they know they're never going to put enough money into Arsenal to get us to where we should be. So this is a nice little shortcut, and a good way for them to get football looking the way that they want it to look. It's just so annoying. Ugh. Andy says, I can't see the Big Six getting kicked out of the Premier League and also the players being banned from Euros and World Cup. It's not going to happen. It's not, it's not going to happen. But I mean, look at what lengths, UEFA and these leagues are going to, because that's how scared of this whole situation that they are, is that they're willing to blow up their own operation, to make a point that they really don't want this to happen. But they will come to some sort of agreement. At some point, they will come to some sort of agreement. And I don't see us out of the Premier League. It's just the Perez and the Cronkies and, the Glazers and all of them, they have to look like they're so serious about this that UEFA will cave. Both parties are sitting there basically like, we have to make this look as real as possible. And unfortunately, it's playing out in front of the fans. And the fans are the ones that are going through basically the emotional turmoil of feeling like they're losing something that they love so much. And that really is horrendous. The way that this is playing out in front of fans is horrendous. I'm watching people, on these streams and looking just, it's bad enough that we don't get to be in the stands, and they don't get to just, enjoy their football teams. We couldn't feel any further away from them, could we? But it's like Arsenal put even more distance between the fans and them by doing this. The 55 redundancies was bad enough. Gunnersaurus was bad enough. Not being in the stands, bad enough. Not really putting money into this club the way that they should, bad enough. But now we have to be a part of this European Super League. And it's completely put the nail in the coffin between the fans and the ownership in the club. Like, we couldn't feel further away from them, and we couldn't feel any less of a priority to them than we do right now. Finnan says, I just want to know how we are going to stay on top of preventing injuries playing in extra competition. I don't know. They don't care about that. They just want to shove more football down the fans' throats. And, look at how much football we're watching now. We're consuming it at alarming rates, and the quality is actually getting worse, in my opinion. So I think the quality will continue to get worse while we're bombarded with more of it. And they don't really care about the well-being. They haven't cared about the well-being of the players. I mean, they've had no preseason. They've been playing more football than they've ever played before. They're going through COVID and the pandemic and all those types of things, almost like robots. And you have the World Cup in the middle of the season. You have African Cup of Nations in the middle of the season. You have the Euros this summer. And then now you want to start a season-long European competition next season. They don't care about preventing injuries. They view these players as just like almost like robots. They have no they have no regard for human life or health or anything. This is, yeah, they don't care. Nocturnal Gunner says, I don't think it will be extra competition. They will replace. Yeah, so essentially that's what they want. Like they want the Champions League and the UEL or whatever, the Europa League to go away and for this to be the new competition. And then there'll probably be some version of this that's just a level down, but basically they just want more of the money going to the clubs. That's basically what it is. And it'll, and they want it to be closed off, so it won't be an extra competition per se, but it still is different because Champions League is a tournament. This is another league. You're going to be playing another league at the same time that you're playing the Premier League, or whatever other league that you're in. So that is adding another element of, risk, and heaviness on these players' legs, so it's not an extra competition, but it's definitely going to be interesting, wow. Good. Yeah. Morning. It's morning for me, you guys. It's 7:37. Thank you for the compliment. I'm glad you guys are like loving my hair. I wasn't sure about it, to be honest, but I was like, whatever, we'll see what happens. But this is going to be one of a hell of a roller coaster. I think there's going to be a lot of changes between today and the start of next season. Yeah, I think that this is going to be ever changing from now until the time that they come to some sort of agreement. And I'm interested to see what the end result is, but ultimately my main idea is that I hate the idea of this altogether. I don't like it. It's not why I personally have started to love this game. It's not it. Like the last thing I want to see is another Americanized competition. If that's what I wanted, I would just watch the NFL. Osman says the way these owners are running roughshod is similar to how elite bankers took control of U.S. banking under Woodrow Wilson. Florentino Perez is the J.D. Rockefeller of football. Yeah, I mean, he is aggressively pushing this through because he sees an opportunity to take advantage of, clubs that are in weak positions. You saw that originally it just started out with, the Premier League teams and a couple of the Italian teams and, no German teams. And now Bayern Munich is a part of it. And, Roma's now a part of it. Allegedly, Celtic, begged to be a part of it. So they know that these clubs are in really bad financial situations because of the pandemic. So this is just how capitalism really works, and how the elite stay elite is that they look at opportunities to take advantage of the weak, and they put you in a position where you have no choice but to become a part of something that you may not want to be a part of, but you need the money, so it's just, it just feels gross, doesn't it? Dennis says, what's the local fan community around American sport franchises similar to? Not really. I mean, because there's no jeopardy, it makes it easier. And because it's just entertainment, it makes it easier for you to turn it off and turn it back on when you feel like it. So for me, I only really care about the Lakers once they get into a playoff or something like that, and I think basketball, especially professional basketball, has lost so much of its soul because of the money that's been coming in from it. I mean, everybody is just kind of like, I don't care if I really win. You have a couple of players that, come and go, like Kobe or LeBron, that are ultimate athletes and ultimate, they're very competitive. So they will do whatever it takes to win, but for the most part, it's entertainment. And it doesn't really matter if your team loses or not, because nothing is really going to happen. It really, you get uh, advantages when you come in last, because you have the ability to get the number one draft pick and all that kind of stuff. That's their way of evening the score or whatever. So it's not the same. There are fans that just like love their teams, their local teams, if they love the sport. But for the most part, for the greater masses, it's, when we're doing well, I'll pay attention. I'll look at a Super Bowl or, whatever, because it's the entertainment. We're going to have a party. But it's nothing like English football, where if you're in the Champions League, if you're at the top of the Premier League, you have fans. And even if you drop all the way down to League One, they're still there, singing the songs, and they're in attendance. It's just not like that. There is a kind of a bigger connection to college, sports, and like college football and basketball, because there's not a lot of money involved in it. So it is just about the jeopardy, of winning and losing and those types of things. It's more natural and more organic. But the fandom is not the same in the US in comparison to the UK. And that's mostly because of the Americanization of the sport. It's not sport, it's entertainment. Nocturnal Gunner says, I hate that they're praising PSG and Bayern for not joining. I mean, I don't know who, I don't really have a thought on this, because PSG is not joining because of who they're in bed with, essentially. And last time I saw is that Bayern was going to join at a certain point, so I'm not really sure. Schwan, oh no. He says, I'm not watching Liverpool. FSG can go suck on their dirty dry toes. Oh man. I anticipate riots, protests, all that, before this is all done with. So we are just at the beginning. It's just the announcement of them basically starting negotiations. That's what I saw yesterday. And we could be in for a very, very long summer. A summer that looked like we were just going to be looking forward to the Euros and, so a little bit of time off, time probably spent outside, because we're able to go outside now because of the pandemic. Here we go again, something else to be worried about, so we'll see how things shake out. But, it just feels shitty, Andy Stone says Sky and BT are shitting it with the top 20 teams in Europe being in this new ESL will greatly reduce their income over TV rights they have existing. Exactly. Like they said earlier, that they're going to be looking to negotiate deals with, TV production companies like Netflix and Amazon. So once you get to that point where they're dealing with different people, everybody is freaking out. UEFA's freaking out, Sky, BT, everybody's freaking out because basically their gravy train is leaving the station, so I definitely see that. Alistair says, I will start my own league, 2 balls allowed in play at once, but goals half the size. I'd probably watch that before I, sat down and watch Arsenal have to play Barcelona and Real Madrid and Juventus every week with Rob Holding in the back line. Like, come on. Tony says, German teams have their different structures. It will take time to get over, but I expect Bayern, Dortmund, and RB to join. Yeah, they will join eventually because the money is just too good, and everybody, I think, from their perspective knows that this is just joining this from a, and broadcasting it, online makes it a bigger spectacle and puts more pressure on UEFA to cave to their demands. When you have the names of Bayern and Chelsea, Man City, Manchester United, you have really big clubs that are basically against you, you're basically backed into a corner, and UEFA is basically like capitulating on itself. Like it's imploding, because they know that at some point they're going to have to give in, and it's all stemming from the fact that, the money that's made from those European competitions in these teams' minds was not allocated fairly, and UEFA being so greedy has led them into this position. And I don't know who's the winner in all this besides the owners of these elite clubs, but it just feels like everybody else kind of loses. New Dawn Game says, any chance some players from these teams might come out publicly against the ESL? I don't think so. I think players from teams that are outside of it, like we saw Ander Herrera came out earlier and said something. We saw that Van Arnholt said something, but these are players that are not involved. Like their teams are not involved in this. I would imagine that the teams are telling their players not to say anything, because they really have to be careful about what they say, because they're basically going to be coming out against their employers, so I think it's important for, the players to speak at the right times, but I'm sure they have feelings about it, and they don't love it, but I don't know. I don't know how they feel, I'm assuming that they don't love it, but these are players that would be benefiting from this, so I don't know, maybe we're in a position where, some of these players will be trying to negotiate bigger contracts, we could be really opening up the gates to some scary, scary stuff. Mezidozo and Lovren also spoke about it. Yeah, they spoke about it. But again, these are players that are outside of this. They both used to play for teams that are in this European Super League. So they have the freedom to talk about it. But if I'm Aubameyang, I don't know if I'm going to come out and say anything against my employer. I mean, in your normal world, let's say wherever you work, you did that. What is the initial thing is backlash, or punishment from the club. So I don't think I would be very surprised if players from these teams that are actually a part of this European Super League speak out, before things are solidified, because this is just the beginning. This is nowhere near the end. Yeah, what is the, Nocturnal Gunner makes a good point about the transfer fees within the league being astronomical, and they were already getting out of control. I mean, there's wages, that players will feel like are now available because we're in a different position. Will there be salary caps now? Will there be astronomical, transfer fees like we've seen in the past, but even bigger, and just the disparity between these European clubs, the clubs that are in this European Super League, in contrast to the teams that are not, I think it's just going to be so painful to watch. So even if we are in the Premier League, which is what I prefer than being completely separate, I think it's just going to look bad, to see us with all the best players in the world on these teams, and we're essentially only competing with ourselves, and the teams that are lower down are not going to have a chance at all to compete unless they have owners that are willing to just really splash the cash. I mean, look at teams like Leicester and Everton that were just getting to a point where they felt like they can compete. They just got to a point where they felt like they were competing. West Ham, Aston Villa, this is going to put miles of space between the top 6 and these clubs. They have to feel like all their work has pretty much gone to waste, especially if we're able to stay in the Premier League. It's unfair to them. Yo-Yo says Xhaka will stay at the club much longer now. Andy says, no way they'll come out. These players are driven by money. You think if they are offered an extra 200K a week, they'll keep? Yeah, exactly. I think, the players that are not involved will see it for what it is because they have no horse in that race, right? But players that are a part of Arsenal and Manchester United, a lot of these players are more attached to money, than the clubs anyway. So this is an opportunity for them to benefit. I wouldn't be surprised if these players were getting their wages went up significantly because of this. Andy says if Dortmund and PSG don't join, then Haaland and Mbappe will move for sure. Yeah, for sure. The biggest and the best players in the world are going to want to be a part of these teams because that's where the money is. That's where the sponsorships are going to come from. That's where the competition is going to be. And you don't want to be left behind. And that's, kind of what I want to end this on is that, my stance is 100%. I do not like the idea of this. It takes away from everything that football fans believe is what football is about. And it's completely disheartening and disgusting the way that greed has pretty much is destroying what we love. That being said, to be honest, if there is a European Super League, I want Arsenal to be a part of it. And I know that may be controversial or not what people want to hear, but if you're not a part of it, you're going to be struggling badly, and I know I love my club regardless, because the club is not just the Cronkies. The club is the people that work there, the players, and it's my memories. And as long as I love this club, which will be forever, I'll always want us to be in a position to be in the best possible position. I would prefer this not being happening at all. But if it does happen, I would prefer us being in it than out of it, because there's no guarantee that the Cronkies will sell. And if we were outside of it and the Cronkies were still the owners, it would take until we fell out of the league or crumbled or went into administration or something like that before they left. And I don't want to see the club crumble to that magnitude, so I'll just leave it on that, if you don't join, you'll be left behind. And I'd rather us be in than out, even though I hate the idea of it anyway. And I hope that makes sense and that comes across not as I want it to happen. I don't, but if it does, I'd rather us be a part of it than not. But yeah, we'll end it there, guys. I'm actually going to be on Diluted Gooner's channel in about 5 minutes or so. So if you want to hop on to his channel, and I'll be there in a couple minutes to talk to him about this exact same thing. I feel like that's all I'm going to be talking about. And then at 7 p.m. UK time, the post-match show for Fulham. Yeah, we played Fulham, remember? And we drew to them. Yeah, we're going to actually talk about that with Tucci Gooners. I'm sure we'll talk about this again, but it will be good to get their opinion on this. As fans that actually live in the UK, I can actually talk to them and get their temperature on this whole thing. But I'll see you guys back here at 7. And if you guys have some extra time, just hop on over to Diluted's channel and I'll be on there in a couple minutes. So I'll see you guys soon. I hope you guys are doing well. Please try to enjoy your day. I know that this is like horrendous news and all that, but just try to enjoy your day and be healthy and well and all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.